A variation of the story from Harriet Merritt, read by Jennifer Sagadol at Harriet Merritt's funeral luncheon. Here we go. Petie, his mother, and his 8 siblings lived in a pit at Pine View Campground at Fort McCoy in Wisconsin. Not only were all of them afraid to come out of their pit because of Mrs. Potts, you'll know more about her later, they were also afraid of the 9 bugle calls during the day. Because Fort McCoy is a military-affiliated campground, they need to do this to signify different events throughout the day for service members. Here is the story about Petie, his mother, and Mrs. Potts.
Petie.
One morning, Petie was hissing in the pit when his mother said,
Petie, don't hiss in the pit. If you must hiss, go outside and pit in the hiss. And hiss.
Petie went outside to pit in, to pit. Petie was hissing all around when he finally leaned over and hissed in the pit. Petie's mother heard Petie hissing in the pit and said,
Petie, if you must hiss in the pit, go over to Mrs. Potts' pit and hiss in her pit.
Petie went over to Mrs. Potts' pit to hiss in her pit. But Mrs. Potts wasn't home, so he hissed in her pit anyway. While Petie was hissing in Mrs. Potts' pit, Mrs. Potts came home and found Petie hissing in her pit and said,
Petie, if you have to hiss in a pit, don't hiss in my pit. Go to your own pit and hiss.
This made Petie very sad, and he cried all the way home. When Petie got home, his mother saw him crying and said,
Petie, what's the matter?
Petie said, I went over to Mrs. Potts' pit to hiss in her pit. But Mrs. Potts wasn't home, so I hissed in her pit anyway. Mrs. Potts came home and found me hissing in her pit, and she said, Petie, if you must hiss in a pit, go to your own pit and hiss. Don't hiss in my pit.
This made Petie's mother very happy. She said,
Why, Petie, that mean old lady. I knew Mrs. Potts when she didn't have a pit to hiss in.